Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the session. So let's start in a minute. Cool, so let's start. Hello everyone, I'm Anshika. I'm a final year student at Delhi Technological University. I'm currently interning with Microsoft as software development engineer. So I have been with Microsoft since one last year when I was part of Engage program. I was also selected as one of the top 30 girls in Twitter developer. So more about it later. So now let's move on to today's agenda. That is, I'll be discussing two main things with you today. That how I cracked an internship at Microsoft, and then moving on to more of general tips and tricks on how to crack technical interviews. So let's start. Let's start. As I just now told you that I was selected in Microsoft Engage program last year. So most of the people, they don't know what Microsoft Engage is. So Microsoft Engage is a student engagement and mentorship program which is conducted by Microsoft, and that offers one-on-one mentorship to all the shortlisted students while they work on a project, and some special learning sessions which are curated specially for the students, and also a sneak peek into Microsoft's culture and values. So you must be wondering that where all to find like the news about these type of programs being conducted. So I came to know about Engage through the TNP cell of my college. But if you want to know about this program or any other such hiring challenges of other companies, you should remain active on LinkedIn, because when these such of programs happen, like some people, they do post about it. So it is always advised to be active on LinkedIn. So now talking about the eligibility criteria. So everyone who had a CGPA greater than 7 and was in their third year was allowed to apply through the Microsoft portal. And the selection process was very simple. There was just one test that was conducted. The test consisted of some simple DSA based MCQs, testing the DSA knowledge of students, and some coding based questions wherein, like, we were required to not write the entire code but to write a pseudo code. So this was the selection process. After the test, the people who cleared the test were, like, emailed through Microsoft that you have been selected, and the this program, it happens usually around May or June. So in my time it was in June. So the duration of this program is generally 1 year. So now coming on to the part that how I got internship through this program. So initially in this program, we were required to make a clone of Microsoft Teams app in just the duration of 1 month. So we all were divided into groups of 7 and were allotted two mentors each. Although we were divided into the groups, but we were supposed to work individually on this. So we had just 1 month and we had to do everything in that 1 month. And in the end, whosoever was able to complete the project that was allotted to us, and also had a good review of their mentors, because in this the mentor review was very important. So all the students who had a good review of the mentors, they got direct opportunity for internship interview. So I was among one of them. Like, my review of the mentors, that was really good, so I didn't have to sit for any of the technical round, and I had to give just one round, that was an HR round. So, and like that was my interview story. But like there were some other people who had to like sit for the technical rounds. Like the number of rounds, they varied depending upon the review of the mentor. So this is how I got the internship opportunity in Microsoft. But talking about more of general process onto how like what the interview process is for Microsoft. So first step is a recruiter connect. So it is highly recommended that you all maintain a good LinkedIn profile to get noticed by Microsoft recruiters, and not just Microsoft recruiters. Like you, like the recruiters, they generally contact you through LinkedIn. Like recruiter of any company can contact you through LinkedIn if they find that your profile is suitable for the role they are hiring. So it is always like required to maintain a good LinkedIn profile. It helps you get noticed by the recruiters easily. Also, if you are like targeting Microsoft, it is also advised to connect with existing Microsoft employees. So whenever you're applying off campus, it is always good to get some referrals. So what referrals do is that when you're applying off campus, the probability of your resume getting shortlisted, it is very less, because there are thousands of applicants applying off campus. So the probability of your resume getting shortlisted is very less. But if you apply through a referral, the probability increases, because that person is basically referring you inside the company. So the probability of your resume being selected, it increases. So it is always good to be connected with the people in of the company in which you're applying, so that when the time comes, you can like ask for the referral and apply through the referral on the job portal. So this is the first step. Coming on to the next step, once your resume is shortlisted, comes the interview rounds. So before interview rounds, what happened is Microsoft conducts one simple online coding test. So in that coding test, there are generally 2 to 3 DSA based questions, like easy to intermediate level DSA questions. And the time that is given to solve those questions is around 30 to 45 minutes. So you have to solve those questions in the like allotted time duration. And all the students who are able to clear that coding round, which is necessary, they proceed to the interview rounds. So the interview rounds, number of the interview rounds, it depends on the number of interview rounds depends upon your performance. So there are like two types of rounds. One is the technical rounds, and the other is our HR round. So first, generally, a technical round happens in which the students are asked DSA-based questions and subject-based questions. So the DSA-based questions that are asked are based on simple data structures. They are not very hard for Microsoft. So like they are intermediate level questions. And if you perform good, then then you can proceed directly to the HR round. But if the interviewer feels that you lagged somewhere in your technical round and you should be given one more opportunity to try for the like to try again, so you proceed to the next technical rounds. So the number of rounds are not fixed. They're never fixed for Microsoft, so it varies. It can be either one technical, one HR, or two technical, one HR. So like that. In technical round, I already told the questions are based on DSA, data structures and algorithms like stacks, queues, searching, sorting. And the like the HR round consists of personality based questions, like what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. So basically, they want to check by asking such questions. They want to check if you are suitable for the company, and like will you adjust well in the company, in the environment of the company. So this is all about the interview rounds of the Microsoft. Coming to the post interview, so based upon your performance in both of the technical and the HR round, the candidate, like they're judged on the interview round and the verdict is decided. And once the team has decided the verdict, and they will contact you that you are selected, they'll roll out the offer letter, and then that means that you're basically hired. So this is the interview process for Microsoft. Coming on now, talking about the general aspects on how to like crack the technical interviews. So like right now I just told you on what is the interview process like at Microsoft, but like you might sit for other companies, and there are many mistakes that the people commit because they don't know. So I'm going to tell you some important tips and tricks which you must keep in mind before sitting for any company's technical interview. So, starting with the first point, proper research. So, now this is a really important step. Whatever company you are sitting for, you should always research about that company. So, like if you're targeting Google, if you're targeting Microsoft, or any ABC company you're targeting, just go on Google and search for the questions or the interview experiences of the people belonging, like who have appeared for the same company. This will help you learn that what kind of questions are asked when you sit for that company. So like you must be wondering that why a company asks similar question, or if at all the company asks similar questions. So yeah, like it happened with me as well. Like when I was sitting for the interviews my time, I also like followed these steps. When I was sitting for any company, I used to go and read about experiences of different people on GFG, and like a similar questions they actually appeared in the interview. So every company has a type of like they have like a proper set of questions that they ask, and these questions are generally repeated. So it is often beneficial if you have done proper research before appearing for the technical interview, because that is always going to be a plus point for you, and you're always going to be benefited if you are done with a thorough research of the company. So this is the first step, that is the proper research. So like if you're preparing for the interviews right now, just make a list of all those companies you're targeting and go to GFG and read about different interview experiences. People, they all like they tell everything how their interview went. Like they also even tell about the coding test that the company conducts, what sort of questions were asked in that test, and what were the interview rounds like, what were the questions asked in the interview rounds, and then like if they were selected or not. So when you like read about other people's experiences, you also learn about what mistakes they committed, and you can always learn from their mistakes. So just follow these steps. So moving on to the next step, proper time utilization. So this is the most important step after you have done your research. You know like what kind of questions or what topics you need to focus on for a particular interview. This is the most important step that you should focus on. So like if you're sitting for a company and you know that your interview is on this date, so you start panicking. Like it happened with me as well, that I knew my interview is in a week, and I had just 1 week and there is so much to revise, so you start panicking. So in that case, what you should do and what you need to do is like make a proper list of all the topics that you need to revise. Like make a list of the topics, bifurcate into the topics that you're weak in, and the topics that are your strong areas. So when you do this, you'll get clear in your mind that what all topics are there that you need to revise, and what all topics are there that you don't need to focus much on. Because if you don't do this, then you would end up revising everything, and you won't be able to revise any topic properly, and you'll be like you won't gain any confidence in any single topic. So it is always better to list down things, get more organized, and like even plan. Like once you have written all the topics, just plan that you will revise this and this topic on this and this day, since you have 7 days. Like if I talk about my case, if I have 7 days to prepare for an interview, I'll do is that I'll plan my day, that I'll revise this and this topic on this day, this topic on this day, and I'll practice from this platform, and these are my strong topics and these are my weak topics. And apart from DSA, there are also core subjects that you need to focus on. So that is also one area that you should keep in mind, that after practicing the questions, you need to revise the subjects as well. So making a list will help you get things organized. Now, don't practice more than 3 to 4 questions of each topic. So like what people tend to waste a lot of time, like practicing a lot of questions of a single topic. So what this will do is, even if you have written all your weak topics, but if you spend more time on one topic and like leave another topic, so you won't be able to revise everything. So just don't practice more than 3 to 4 questions, or like not even 3 to 4 questions. Just practice a particular topic till the point you gain enough confidence in that topic. Because our ultimate goal is to gain confidence, so that we are ready for our interview day. So don't practice like more than 3, 4, or 5 questions on a single topic. And in this way, your topic will get revised and you will even gain confidence in that topic. And if you think that you are good in some topics that any particular company asks, then don't sit idle thinking that, yeah, I know this topic, I don't need to revise or practice. You should always practice for the hot questions on that topics. Like go to lead code, like apply the tag for that topic in which you feel that you're confident in, and practice the hard level questions from that topic. So you will not so this will like help you in this will help build your problem solving skills. You'll improve your DSA, and you will be even more confident when you'll be able to solve those questions. So you'll be even more confident. So properly utilize your time in the duration in which you have to appear for the interview. Just don't waste your time at all. So now coming on to the next thing, that what all are the topics that you need to prepare for the technical interviews, and where you should practice from. So like even in my college, my juniors have just one question they always ask me, that where to start practicing from. Even when I started coding, that was the one question that I had in mind, because there are so many platforms that are available and you don't really know where to practice from, and sometimes it becomes a little overwhelming, like seeing so many platforms. So you need one proper sheet, DAC sheet, or anything that you need to start practicing, so that you get a way and you're organized properly, and you can start practicing then daily. So I can suggest you some good platforms. Like you can, if you are like a beginner, and if you are like you haven't solved many questions, you can start solving from HackerRank. HackerRank is a good platform, and there are some easy level questions. So you can practice from HackerRank. After you have done practicing from HackerRank, you can then move to LeetCode. So LeetCode has plethora of questions available, and they're like very good level questions. So you can practice from LeetCode. LeetCode has 3 question tags, like easy, medium, and hard. You can apply these tags according to whatever is the status of your practice of DSC. Like if you're just a beginner, you can only solve easy level questions, and once you are confident in those easy level questions, you can move on to solving medium questions and hard level questions. And there are various even topic tags available, wherein LeetCode provides you a list of questions curated to a single topic. So that becomes easy. If you want to practice question of stacks, you just have to apply the tag stack, and then you will find the questions there. So like I personally prefer LeetCode for practicing questions, but there is also GFG you can practice questions from. And if you have just 1 month for the interview, then I would recommend that this Strivers 30-day sheet that you can start practicing question from. Like it has 5 to 6 questions for each day, and the questions that are there are generally they're asked in the interview. So that is a good sheet that I would recommend you can practice from. Now coming on to the topics, so I would advise that you should be very well versed with all your basic data structures. And by basic data structures, I meant arrays, strings, stacks, queues, trees, searching, sorting. These are the basic you should be well versed in. Like stacks, queues, stacks, queue, searching, sorting should be on your tips. These are the basic data structures, and like almost every company, they tend to ask questions regarding these topics. If I talk about Microsoft, like Microsoft generally asks questions on trees, searching, and sorting. Like that is their favorite topics to ask questions from. Apart from that, also English is also there. So you should be well versed at least with your basic data structures. Like I know most of you must face difficulties in solving questions of graphs and DP. Even when I used, like I started with graphs and DP, I even faced problems in DP. Even now I face some problems. So graphs and DP takes a little time and patience, but like with proper practice you can gain confidence in both of them. Like for DP, like if you want to gain confidence in DP, there is one channel playlist of Aditya Verma that you can go and watch videos from, and it has some really like he has explained the questions of DP like in a really good manner. So it would help you understand the question and even build like you will be able to learn how to build the logic and the approach of the DP based questions. And for graph, you can see Striver's playlist. So it will help you like practice questions, like build logic for the graph questions. So these are the topics that you need to be well versed with. Also, apart from DSA, the companies also ask questions on object-oriented programming, operating system, and DBMS. So these are the three subjects that you need to prepare very well along with the DSA. So OOPS is really very, very important. OOPS, you should be like very confident in OOPS. All the concepts of OOPS, you need to be like very confident in that. And along with that, operating system and DBMS are also very important. So just don't focus on practicing DSA. You should always prepare for the core subjects as well side by side, because both of these things are really very important for the interview. So this is how you should go about like preparation. Solve like we can solve the questions from lead code on these topics. And for preparing for the core subjects, I would recommend, if you want to learn DBMS and OS, you can like follow KnowledgeGate. You can watch videos from KnowledgeGate for operating system and DBMS. And for OOPS, I would suggest you that there is this book called Balaguru Swami. That is a really good book, and it has like all the things that you need to learn about OOPS. So if you can find this book online, I would recommend that just follow that book and you'll be prepared for it, prepared for OOPS. So moving on to the next part, that is after you have practiced questions, you have done proper research, comes the next step, that is give mock interviews. So one of the most crucial tips to crack tech interviews is to give more and more mock interviews. So during the technical interviews, they try to gauge your problem solving and communication skills in addition to your coding skills. So most of the people, what happens is most of the people, they don't give mock interviews and they're sitting for the interviews and like for the very first time. So they don't know how exactly the interview environment is, what all they should follow and what all they should avoid. So I would recommend that before appearing for a real interview, you should always give mock interviews. And for that, you can either ask your friend or any of your senior to take your mock interview, or like you can also like join AccioJobs, because AccioJobs is a really good platform. It has some student mentors who generally take mock interviews. Like you can take any number of mocks you want, and it helps you prepare very well. So mock interviews, giving mock interviews helps you a lot. It helps you simulate the actual environment before the actual interview. So you'll learn how to give your introduction, how to actually answer any coding question, and what are the things that you need to avoid, wherein what are the areas that you're lagging in, and what all are the topics that you still need to work on. Because you might feel that you're confident in a particular topic, but when you're sitting in a interview, and when an interviewer asks you the question, you tend to panic. And even if you are confident in that topic, and you know that topic, it might happen that you're not able to solve that question on that particular topic. So if you have given enough mocks, then you'll know that what an actual interview environment is. Just the person taking the interview will be different, but the environment would be same. So you won't panic that much on the actual interview day. So giving a mock is always beneficial. So I would like to reiterate on this one point, that always give mock interviews before the actual interview, because mock interview helps you practice explaining your thought process when solving the problems, explaining the logic, presenting your code in a proper way, and know that how to approach the problem, how to talk to the interviewer. So these are the things that you can gain by giving a mock interview. So now you have research about the company, you have like you have prepared, you have practiced the question, you have given the mock, so you have done everything from your side that you could do. So now comes the actual interview day when you have to give the interview. So now I'm going to tell that what all are the things that you should do while you are giving an interview, and what all are the things that you should avoid. So starting with, first, whenever an interview begins, the first thing that you should do is always introduce yourself. So even in introduction, what mistake people tend to do is they don't introduce themselves properly. Like they just tell their name, their college, and their degree. That is the interview that is the introduction that they give. So you should never do this mistake. So you should properly introduce yourself, because your introduction helps the interviewer know you, because he doesn't know you. That this is the first time that he is actually meeting you. So that is the 2-3 minutes introduction that you are giving is the only thing upon which the interviewer is going to know you. So introduction is really very important. So you should always like give a thought to what introduction that you're going to give. So start with your name, your college, your degree, your CGPA, your educational qualifications. After telling your educational qualification, you should always talk about your skills, whether you are proficient in web development, app development, ML, or anything. You should always talk about what skills you're proficient in. You should tell that if you have done any projects pertaining to that skills, because just telling that you are proficient in this and this skills, how is the interviewer going to believe you? So if you tell that you have even done these projects, and you have done any intern anywhere pertaining to this tech stack that you're talking about, so it gives some credibility to whatever you are saying. So it is always advisable that whenever you're introducing yourself, you talk about your skills, and after talking about your skills, you should tell them about your projects, your intern, your past interns, or anything that you have done. And then you should also talk about your achievements, basically whatever you have achieved in whatever you have achieved. Like, suppose if I talk about myself, I can talk about that I was selected in Microsoft Engage, because not everyone was selected, so that is a sort of achievement. I was selected in Twitter developer, so that is an achievement. So you should always tell your achievements. And after talking about your educational qualifications and achievement, you should also tell them about your interest and hobby, so that the interviewer can know you on a personal level also. So now you have given your introduction. After that, the interviewer is going to give you a DSA question. So here, most of the people, what mistake they commit is they directly start solving the question. They don't clear anything. That even if they have any doubt, they just assume in the question. They just assume that this and this would be the situation, and they solve the question given on their assumption. They don't clear the question from the interviewer. So this is my advice, that whenever you are given any question, clear all your questions, what is the what is the range of n. Even this is the basic question that you can ask the interviewer. Don't hesitate to ask questions, just get all your doubts cleared, because it is always better to ask us like basic question, like, and don't assume things. So always just first clarify all the doubts that you have in your mind from the interviewer, and then move on to building the logic part. So, like, this is the first step, that whenever you are given a question, always clarify your doubts. Then coming on to the, now you have done with clarifying your doubts, now you're clear with the question, and you know that what the question is asking. So now you should start building up the logic. Even when you're building up the logic, what you need to do is think out loud. Don't just get quiet and like start thinking in your mind. Whatever you are thinking, whatever approach you are building, you should always discuss that with the interviewer. Should never like sit quietly or let the interviewer ask you to discuss the approach. You should always like whatever, even if you're thinking, even if you're moving from one approach to another, whatever is coming in your mind, you should always speak it to the interviewer, because it might happen that you're not going on the right track, but if you just keep on going on that wrong track, so your time gets wasted. And when you like start coding, then the interviewer will point out that you're doing this and this wrong, then you have to start all over again. So if you discuss with the interviewer, what will happen is the interviewer will point out if your approach is right or wrong. And even if you're not able to come up with any approach related to that question, the interviewer will try to give hints. So don't just keep on asking for more and more hints from the interviewers, because you're always judged on the basis of number of hints you are taking. But just try and grab each and every hint that the interviewer is giving, because what happens in an interview is they always try and help the student by dropping some hints. So you should be able to grab those hints and work on those hints, because they expect you that if you're not able to come up with the logic yourself, you should be at least able to grab those hints and be able to develop the logic. So then, when you're able to come up with a logic, discuss it with the interviewer. If he's satisfied with it, you should ask that if you could code that question or not. If he allows, then you should start coding. Even while coding, you should explain each and every line, whatever you are writing. Even if you're declaring any variable, you should always tell the interviewer that you're declaring this variable and it will be used for this and this purpose in the code. And also, while coding, you should always try and give meaningful names to the variables. So this leaves a good impression on the interviewer that the student knows good coding practices, because giving meaningful names to the variables, it comes under good coding practices. So the interviewers are really impressed if you do that. And also, if your code is exceeding, like, there are multiple things that you need to do in your code, so you always try and make divide your code into different functions, like make your code more modular. So if you like use different functions for solving the questions, it also leaves a good impression on the interviewer that modular coding, modular approach to solve the, like, to code basically. So always try and give meaningful names to the variables. Always try and use modular approach of programming. These all are the things that no one is going to tell you ever, and it is not even written anywhere. This is my personal experience that I have learned by giving the multiple interviews in multiple companies. So this is my personal experience that I have learned, that always give meaningful names, always do proper indentation, and always make your program modular. And after, like, when you're done with the coding, you should, like, once again explain the whole code. And if the interviewer asks you to optimize it, then you should think of the optimized approach. Should always discuss the time and the space complexity of the code. So this is how you should proceed on the coding part. Now coming to on how to answer the subject based questions. So whenever you are asked any subject based questions, try to answer them not very briefly, like don't answer them in one word or in one line. Try to like answer the question, and even when you are like given the definition, supposedly if you're asked what is a class or what is an object, after giving the definition of the like whatever question that you have been asked, try to even pose any example, give any example. So giving examples is always considered good, because it shows that you are really very clear with whatever concept you are being asked the question on. So always tell the definition, and always give a suitable example matching that definition. So, and don't answer the theory based questions very briefly. And even you can, in the object oriented oops question, you can even ask the interviewer if you can write and show the example, because you can always implement any class in that. And one thing, that if you don't know the answer to any question, don't pretend, because the interviewer knows that you know, the interviewer will come to know if you actually know the answer or you are just pretending. So if you don't know the answer to any particular question, instead of pretending, just tell them that you don't know how to solve this question. And if they give hints, and if you are able to like come up with a, if you talk about DSA based question, in that sense, they'll always give you hints, and you can grab those hints and you can like develop the logic based on those hints. And if we talk about the theory based questions, so you can just tell the interviewer that you're not sure about this question, and you don't know the answer to this question. So instead of like pretending and giving the wrong answer, it is always better to tell the truth, because if we pretend, it won't leave a very good impression on the interviewer. So this is the technical based interview that is there. In the end, you can always ask the interviewer. So in the end, interviewer asks you if you have any question for him. Never ask for your review, because they are not supposed to tell you your review, that how you performed, and this is not an appropriate question. So never ask for your review, that how you performed. Instead, that you can ask any other question about the company he's working in, any question except that how was your performance. So it is always good to like interact with the interviewer at the end. So I would like recommend you that whenever you are in an interview and the interviewer is asking you to ask any question, just ask a question related to his company. So this is all about the technical interviews. So after, also, if you are able to clear the technical interview, you proceed on to the HR round. Also, one thing, sometimes it happens that the technical interviews, the interviewers also might ask questions on your projects. Like in your introduction, you talk about your project, so it might happen the interviewer finds any projects interesting, and he or she can start asking questions on that project. So you should be really very clear about all the things that you have done or implemented in that project, and you should be like very clear on what you implemented, how you did it, and you should be able to ask any question that he or she might ask. That is why it is always recommended that don't lie on your resume, don't write anything that you have not actually implemented, because interviewers, they have your resume at the day of the interview, and they tend to ask questions based on whatever that you have written in your resume. So always be very well versed with whatever you have written in the resume, because if you are asked any question, you should be able to answer. Like coming on to now the HR round that happens. So it is more of a personal based rounds in which you have asked personality based questions, and that is basically conducted to know that if you're actually suitable, and you'll fit into the company's culture or not. So that in that round, the general questions about what are your strengths, weaknesses, goals, like such questions are asked. So there isn't any like particular preparation that you need for those interviews. But one advice that I would like to give is, like, generally when you're like telling or answering any sort of questions related to yourself, you can always tell your past experiences and give examples in that, because sharing your personal experiences makes that thing more credible and leaves a very good impression on the person that you have actually gone through that situation and you were able to come up, like cope up with it, or like anything. So whatever the question is, just my point is always like try and relate the answer with your personal experiences and give more and more examples. So there is one thing that I left during the preparation, that whenever you are preparing for the interview, you should always like also give contest. So basically giving contest helps you uh, like being able to code in a proper time limit, because whenever you are appearing for any company, there is a coding test that happens, as I told you. So in that also you are either given 30 to 45 minutes or maximum 1.5 hour. So you have to solve 3 4 questions in that particular time limit. So if you have given enough contest, you have a good practice of solving questions in particular time limit, so you'll be able to solve maximum questions that day. So giving contest is also one thing that should be part of your preparation. So that when the you are sitting for the actual coding test of the company, you are not panicking that how you are going to solve 3 to 4 questions in that particular time limit, and your mind is like well accommodated to thinking in that particular time limit, and you're able to solve maximum questions. And also when you're even practicing, don't just stick after solving the question, don't just move on to the next question. Always like see multiple approaches to that question. Like don't just if you have solved one question with a brute force, always look for the optimized approach for that question, because in interviews the interviewers generally expect that you must know the optimized approach. So it might happen that you have solved a particular question, you know how to solve that question in the past, but you haven't like so like you don't know the optimized approach because you just did it in the brute force approach, you didn't see the optimized approach, so now you were not able to come up with any optimized approach to that question. So it is always advisable that even after solving one question, you should always look for the multiple approaches to that question, and for that you can either go to like GFG or lead code discuss section and see like how other people have solved it. So it also helps to improve your problem solving skills. So this is all about the tips and tricks that to crack technical interviews. Now we'll be moving on to the Q&A session. So all of you can like post any questions that you have in the chat box, and I'll try and answer maximum questions that I can. So Sanket has asked me that this is applicable only for those who are in like engaged program, if it is applicable only for the people those who are in the tier 1 colleges and on campus. So no, Sanket, it is not the case. Like engage is an off campus opportunity, and it is not just for the tier 1 colleges. It was open for all the branches and all the colleges. Like it was not like only tier 1 and tier 2 colleges could apply. So anyone can apply to it. College and branch was never a barrier for applying to it. So Santosh is asking that how to remember solved questions. So Santosh, like I don't know why you need to remember the solved questions, because whenever you are solving particular questions, like instead of learning those questions, try and grasp what concept is being applied to it. So when you see that when you know that what concept is being applied to it, so if you face any similar questions in future on that particular topic, you'll be able to solve it. So you won't need to remember the question in that case. So that And even if you want to remember, like there are certain questions that are very particular, and that is there is only one approach that can be applied in that, and there is nothing else. Like uh, I remember one question, that is maximum histogram in a rectangle. That is one such question I remember. It has only one approach that is applied in that question. So you can always remember such questions by practicing again and again. Like whenever you're practicing for stack, because it is a stack based question, whenever you're practicing for stack, always, and whenever you're revising, always solve this question again. Just don't think that I have solved this question in the past, I don't need to solve it again. Always solve this question whenever you're revising a particular topic. So Aditya is asking that the 30-day sheet you mentioned. So Aditya, you can Google that Strivers 30-day sheet, and you will find the link to that sheet. It is available. About Microsoft internship and how is it useful. So Microsoft is a tech giant, and trust me, like working for Microsoft these 2 months, it was really a wholesome experience for me. Like I learned a lot in these 2 months. I got to work on different tech stacks. I got to like interact with many people, and there was a lot of learning learning that there was basically a learning curve, and there was a lot to learn from the people there. So it is always like a good experience to work for a tech giant, and it is like always useful to you because you get to know different things, and you get to actually work on the life projects which you haven't yet got any opportunity in your life to work on. So Abhinav is asking that how much time we should give for a question. So Abhinav, like I would recommend that if you're solving a question and if you have a lot of time for preparing, the maximum time that you should always give into any question is 20 minutes. Like take those 20 minutes, do everything you can, and even if you're still not able to solve that question in that 20 minutes, you should always look up for the hints, and if there are no hints, you can always look for the solution. But even if you are looking for the solution, I would recommend that mark that question that you have looked for the solution to this question, and the next day solve that question again. So this way you'll be able to remember that question, you will be able to practice that question again, and your concept will get solidified. How to revise topics. So Kavita, once you're done with all the data structures, you so like when you have once you're done with all the data structures, you can like start picking up one data structures one at a time, and you can go to either GFG, or you can go to lead code, put that topic tag, and solve 10 questions from that topic. In that way, your topic also gets revised, and you'll gain confidence in that topic as well. So how to manage web development and DSA? Vimmers, for that I would like to advise you that make a proper timetable, and bifurcate your time into web development and DSA. You can divide your time like that. You'll at least give 3 to 4 hours to DSA per day, and keep web development for 1 or 2 hours, because there are 24 hours, and even if you're sleeping for 8 hours a day, then also there's a lot of time left for you to study. So you can keep web development for 2 hours, and you can study DSA for 3 to 4 hours. Like it all depends on you how you want to divide your time, but you should always like bifurcate your time into web development and DSA. So the next question is that how many months internship is enough to get sufficient hands-on experience? So Ikram, it all depends. Even there are companies who hire freshers, because internship is basically for learning. You can learn by developing projects as well. It is not compulsory that you need to intern any company to get a job or anything. It is not necessary, but it is always good to get a work experience, because your work experience helps you learn things. Nasir asked that who for DP. Nasir, for DP, you should go and search for Aditya Verma's playlist. Like on YouTube, you can search for Aditya Verma DP playlist, and you will find the first link, and it is a really good experience, and it is a really good playlist. So I guess we are done with the questions. Anyone else have any other questions? You can post in the chat box. Otherwise, we can over the session. Ashok, so Microsoft is generally Microsoft generally Microsoft has multiple jobs posted on its career portal. You can always go and check. Also, you can remain active on LinkedIn so as to see when Microsoft is hiring, when Microsoft is posting jobs, and you can keep on checking the career portal of the website. And not just Microsoft, for any company that you want to apply for, you should always check the career portal of that website because there are multiple jobs that are posted in like time duration of 2-3 months. So you can always check that. So I guess we are done with the questions. So it was good interacting with all of you. I hope that you all get into whatever company that you're targeting and you get a good interview experience. Thank you.